The evening started like any other. Quiet, ordinary, deceptively peaceful. The city lights flickered beyond the apartment window, scattering their glow across the glass like restless fireflies. I sat on the couch, half watching the muted television, half listening to the sound of Clara moving around the bedroom. She was getting ready to go out. Again, she appeared in the doorway a few minutes later, her perfume arriving before she did. Soft, floral, expensive. "I'll be late," she said, slipping one earring into place. "It's just dinner with a few friends. Don't wait up." I smiled, but it felt rehearsed. "Sure. Which friends this time?" She hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then replied, "Maya and a few from work. You don't know them." Her tone was light, too light. Her hands moved quickly, too quickly, as she reached for her purse. Something about her that night unsettled me. Maybe it was the way she avoided eye contact, or how she didn't kiss me goodbye like she used to, or maybe it was the way her voice trembled slightly when she said she'd be home before midnight. Tiny details, meaningless on their own, yet together they formed an unease I couldn't explain. When the door closed behind her, silence filled the apartment. Thick, heavy, almost sentient. I stared at the clock. 8:27 p.m. She'd been leaving more often lately. Dinners, meetings, late-night client calls. I'd stopped asking questions weeks ago, afraid of what the answers might sound like. Still, a small part of me, the part that refused to accept suspicion as truth, tried to believe her. Clara wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my anchor, the woman who once traced stars with me on the rooftop, who laughed until tears spilled down her cheeks, who said I made her feel safe. But lately, that word felt misplaced. Safe. Around her, I no longer felt it. The phone buzzed beside me, breaking my thoughts. A text from Maya. "Hey, is Clara with you?" She said she might skip dinner. My chest tightened. Skip dinner? That's where she said she was going. I typed back quickly. "She left an hour ago. Said she was meeting you." 3 dots blinked on the screen, then vanished. No reply. The sound of the city outside grew distant, fading into a low hum. Something cold crept up my spine, that intuitive chill that comes when your heart senses what your mind refuses to admit. I tried to ignore it, to brush it off as paranoia. But even then, deep down, I knew tonight wouldn't be ordinary. Somewhere between her hesitation, that unanswered message, and the silence she left behind, a truth waited. A truth that would come knocking soon enough. And when it did, it wouldn't knock at all. It would call. The clock read 9:42 p.m. when I realized how long I'd been staring at the empty armchair across from me, the one where Clara usually curled up after work, legs folded beneath her, laughter spilling through the room like sunlight. Now it sat in silence, a hollow reminder of how quickly warmth could turn into absence. I tried to distract myself. The TV murmured in the background. My laptop screen glowed with unread emails, but my attention refused to settle. My mind replayed every detail of the evening. Her hesitation, the way she said, "Don't wait up," as though decoding those few seconds could unravel whatever truth she was hiding. Then my phone rang. Just once. A single vibration, a flash of her name, Clara, and then nothing. The call ended before I could even reach for it. For a heartbeat, I just stared. Did she mean to call me? I called back immediately. One ring, two, then voicemail. Her recorded voice played, calm, composed, perfectly normal. "Hi, it's Clara. Leave a message." I didn't. Instead, I sent a text. "Everything okay?" I waited. No reply. I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail this time. A chill spread through me, slow, deliberate, like water seeping under a closed door. Clara wasn't the type to let her phone die, and she never called me by accident. Something felt off, deeply off. I opened Find My Phone, the feature we'd set up years ago for safety. Ironic, really. Her location flickered onto the map after a few seconds of buffering. I expected to see the bright blue hovering over the downtown restaurant where her friends were supposedly celebrating. But it wasn't there. Instead, the dot blinked on the opposite side of the city, in a quiet residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. I zoomed in. The street name appeared, Larkspur Avenue. No restaurants. No bars. Just houses. My throat went dry. Maybe she stopped by Maya's place, I told myself, though I already knew that wasn't true. Maya lived in a completely different district. I called Maya again. This time, she answered on the second ring. Her voice sounded uncertain, tired. "Hey, Ryan. Everything okay?" "I was just wondering," I said carefully. "Is Clara still with you?" There was a pause. The kind that stretches too long. The kind that confirms what you already fear. She left early," Maya said finally. "Said she wasn't feeling well." I forced a laugh that didn't sound human. "Right. Thanks." "Ryan, is something wrong?" I almost told her. Almost confessed that a single missed call from Clara had already unraveled everything I thought I knew about our relationship. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I muttered, "No, it's fine," and hung up. I stared at the map again. Her phone hadn't moved. Still there, glowing like a quiet accusation. The time read 10:11 p.m. The streetlights outside cast long shadows across the floor. My heart thudded with every passing second. Logic whispered to stay home, to wait for her to explain. But instinct, that deeper, primal sense of dread, urged me to go. Before I knew it, I was behind the wheel. The city blurred past in streaks of gold and gray as I drove through the empty streets. Following that pulsing blue lay a trail of breadcrumbs. The farther I went, the quieter everything became. No music, no noise, just the hum of the engine and the echo of my own thoughts. When I turned onto Larkspur Avenue, the world seemed to shrink. Narrow houses lined the street, their windows glowing faintly. Somewhere among them, Clara's phone waited. The app showed I was close, only 30 meters away. I slowed the car and scanned both sides of the road. Then I saw it. Her car, parked neatly under a flickering streetlight, unmistakable in its dark blue color. My stomach twisted. I pulled over, killed the engine, and sat there in silence. The location stopped moving. Then, abruptly, it vanished. She had turned her phone off. A sharp exhale escaped me. Part disbelief, part heartbreak. I stared at the black screen of my phone. Her name still visible in the call log. 1 missed call, 2 seconds long. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a warning. Either way, something inside me whispered that tonight I would learn the truth, whether I wanted to or not. The street was too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums until even your heartbeat sounds intrusive. I sat in my car, engine off, headlights dimmed, staring at Clara's vehicle under the flickering streetlight. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Every rational thought screamed at me to go home, to trust her, to pretend this night never happened. But reason had lost its voice hours ago, drowned beneath a tide of suspicion I could no longer ignore. I opened the car door slowly, the cold air slicing across my face. The faint smell of rain lingered in the wind. I stepped out, my shoes crunching on the gravel, each sound magnified in the stillness. Her car was locked. Through the tinted window, I could see her jacket tossed carelessly on the passenger seat, the same one she had worn when she left the apartment. My chest tightened. If her jacket was here, she wasn't planning to go far. I glanced up and down the street. The houses were lined close together. Their windows glowed with the soft yellow light of late evening. Shadows moved behind curtains, silhouettes of lives continuing blissfully unaware. Somewhere among them, Clara was hiding her truth. A low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. The night sky had begun to shift, clouds swallowing the stars, the air thickening with the promise of rain. I pulled my phone from my pocket, reopened the location map, but the screen was blank now. No signal, no trace. She had vanished. For several minutes, I stood motionless, trying to steady my breathing. The image of her laughing, carefree, radiant, untouchable, flashed in my mind. How many times had I told myself she could never lie? How many times had I chosen love over evidence? I couldn't do it anymore. I began walking down the pavement, scanning the row of houses. My eyes caught on a narrow path between 2 buildings, a barely lit walkway leading toward the backyard fences. I hesitated, then stepped in. The air grew colder there, the smell of damper stronger. My footsteps echoed off the walls, too loud, too revealing. I moved slower, my pulse hammering. Then I heard faint laughter. It was muffled, distant, but unmistakable. Clara's laugh had a distinct tone, soft, breathy, with a slight break in the middle when she tried to suppress it. I froze where I stood. The sound came from a small house near the end of the path, its windows half covered by vines. The curtains were drawn, but light spilled from a narrow gap. I crept closer, careful not to step on the loose stones scattered across the ground. Through the thin slit of the curtain, I could see a living room, warm, cozy, painfully intimate. And there she was, Clara. She sat on a couch, her hair loose, her shoes off, and beside her, a man I didn't recognize. He leaned toward her, saying something that made her laugh again, that same soft, familiar sound I used to live for. My vision blurred, but not from tears. It was disbelief, the kind that feels like being dropped into freezing water. My breath came shallow, my fingers numb. I wanted to burst through that door, to demand an explanation, to shatter that fragile world she had built with her lies. But some instinct, maybe pride, maybe fear, kept me rooted in place. Instead, I took out my phone and raised it slightly, snapping a single photo through the narrow slit. The flash was off, the sound muted, but still my heart pounded as if I'd fired a gun. When I looked at the image on my screen, my suspicions crystallized into proof. Her betrayal was no longer invisible. It had a face, a place, a timestamp. I backed away slowly, the laughter inside fading behind me. The first drops of rain began to fall, gentle at first, then heavier, drumming against my shoulders as I returned to the car. I sat behind the wheel, drenched, trembling, staring through the windshield. The rain distorted the world outside into a blur of light and shadow. My reflection in the glass looked like a stranger, someone older, broken, quieter. At 11:37 p.m., the front door of the house opened. Clara stepped out, pulling her hood over her head. The man followed, smiling, his hand brushing against her back. They said something. I couldn't hear what, and she gave a small, guilty glance around before hurrying toward her car. I ducked lower in my seat as she passed. My breath caught when she walked within a few feet of me. Then she stopped. For a second, I thought she'd seen me. But she only stood there, fumbling in her purse, pulling out her phone, the same one that had called me hours ago. She stared at it, hesitated, then slid it back into her bag. A moment later, she drove away. I waited until her taillights vanished down the street before starting my own car. The road ahead was slick with rain, shining like a mirror, a perfect reflection of the truth I could no longer unsee. And in that reflection, I realized something. Sometimes the answers we fear most don't hide in words. They wait in silence. By the time I reached home, the city had gone to sleep. The rain had softened into a thin drizzle, the kind that whispered against the windows but never quite stopped. The clock on the wall read 12:18 a.m., and the apartment felt colder than usual. I didn't turn on the lights. I just stood there, dripping rainwater onto the floor, staring into the dimness. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air, the last trace of story I'd stopped believing hours ago. My phone lay on the table, its screen black, lifeless. I placed it beside the damp photograph I had taken. Clara, smiling with another man, their faces too close, their laughter frozen in digital silence. Proof. Every few seconds, I glanced at the door, waiting for the sound of her key in the lock. A part of me wanted her to walk in and explain everything, to tell me I had misunderstood, that there was some simple, stupid reason for it all. But deep down, I already knew the truth. The missed call hadn't been an accident. It had been a crack in her perfect facade. And through that crack, everything had spilled out. At 12:46 a.m., the key finally turned. The door opened and Clara stepped in, startled to see me awake, soaked, sitting in the dark. "Ryan." Her voice was soft, cautious. "You scared me. Why are you sitting like that?" I said nothing at first, just watched her. The sight of her, so familiar, so beautiful, so false, made my stomach twist. Was the dinner nice? I asked finally, my tone steady but sharp around the edges. She blinked, then nodded. Yeah, it was fine. I told you not to wait up. Her voice trembled slightly. A tiny fracture. I leaned back in chair. Did Maya go home early? That mayor pause. What? Maya, I repeated. Did she leave early? Or did you? A flicker across her face. Confusion first, then realization, then fear. She tried to mask it with a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Why are you asking me that? I didn't answer. Instead, I reached for my phone and slid it across the table. The screen lit up with a photograph. Clara and the man in the house on Larkspur Avenue. Her hand froze halfway to her purse. Her breath caught. Where did you get that? She whispered. I stood slowly, every muscle tight, my voice quiet but unyielding. From the street, the one where you said you weren't. For a long time, she didn't move. The only sound was the rain tapping against the glass. Then she exhaled, her shoulders sinking, her face collapsing under the weight of truth. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, she murmured. A bitter laugh escaped me. There's no good way to find out, Clara. She closed her eyes, tears glimmering behind the lashes. It's not what you think. Then what is it? My voice cracked despite me, because from where I was standing, it looked exactly like what it shouldn't. Her tears fell freely now. His name is Ethan. He's an old client. It started months ago. I didn't plan it, Ryan, I swear. It just happened. I tried to end it tonight. By meeting him at his house? Her lips trembled. I was saying goodbye. The room spun. Every word she spoke was a blade, soft, deliberate, and merciless. I turned away, gripping the back of the chair, just to steady myself. And the missed call? I asked quietly, why did you call me? She hesitated, then shook her head. I didn't mean to. My phone was in my hand, and I must have. No. I cut her off, turning to face her. You didn't mean to. You could have called anyone, but you called me. Her eyes widened, shimmering with regret. Maybe I did, she admitted, her voice breaking. Maybe I wanted you to know. Maybe I was too much of a coward to tell you myself. The honesty in her voice was a cruel kind of mercy. I should have felt relief, but all I felt was exhaustion. The weight of every lie, every smile, every time she'd said, I love you while meaning something else entirely. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Ryan, please, she whispered, tears streaking down her cheeks. It was a mistake. I was lost, confused. Stop. My tone was sharp enough to cut through her apology. You weren't lost. You're found by someone else. Silence filled the room again, thick and suffocating. The woman I'd loved stood before me, small and broken, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. Every memory we'd built now felt contaminated by that single image. Her smile, her betrayal, her choice. After a long moment, she whispered, Do you hate me? I shook my head slowly. No, I don't hate you, Clara. I hate what you turned us into. She looked down, her shoulders trembling. The clock ticked between us like a metronome for the end of something sacred. When she finally spoke again, her voice was barely audible. What happens now? I didn't know how to answer. The truth had unfolded completely, but closure still felt miles away. I looked at her one last time, the woman who'd once been my world, and said quietly, Now? Nothing happens. It's already over. Her tears fell harder, but I couldn't stay to watch. I picked up my jacket, opened the door, and stepped out into the rain. The night swallowed me in cold silence. Behind me, the door closed, soft, final, absolute. For a moment, I stood beneath the streetlight, the rain washing away the heat of my anger, leaving only emptiness. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from her. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. I didn't reply. I stared at her name on the screen, then turned the phone off. The missed call had exposed her secrets, but it had also revealed something else. The painful truth that love, once cracked, doesn't shatter all at once. It breaks slowly, quietly, in the moments between forgiveness and finality. The rain didn't stop until morning. By then, The streets had washed themselves clean, but nothing inside me felt renewed. I'd spent the night driving with no destination, just a blur of headlights, the hiss of tires on wet asphalt, and the ghost of Clara's voice replaying in my head. When dawn finally broke, I parked outside a small motel on the edge of town. The neon sign buzzed faintly, casting pale blue light across the car's dashboard. I hadn't slept. My eyes burned, but I didn't feel tired, just hollow. Inside the motel room, everything smelled faintly of disinfectant and old smoke. I dropped onto bed, clothes still damp from the rain, and stared at the ceiling. I thought of all the little things that had led to last night. The subtle changes, the hesitations, the distance that grew in quiet inches rather than loud fights. Love doesn't collapse suddenly. It erodes. I'd just been too blind to see it happening. Hours passed in a blur of silence. My phone lay on a nightstand, face down, as if turning it over could keep the world from finding me. But by noon, it buzzed once, a message from Clara. "I'm sorry, Ryan. I don't expect forgiveness. Just please know that I loved you, even when I failed you." I read it twice, then deleted it. For the next few days, I moved through life like a shadow. Work, coffee, sleepless nights, all of it mechanical, meaningless. Friends called, asked if I was okay. I told them I was fine. That's what people say when they're anything but. Sometimes, in quieter moments, I replayed that missed call in my head. 2 seconds of ringing that changed everything. I wondered if, in that instant, she'd hesitated. Maybe her thumb hovered over my name, torn between guilt and the desperate need to be caught. Maybe she wanted to be found out. Maybe the truth was too heavy to carry alone. A week later, I went back to the apartment. The place smelled different, emptier somehow. Clara's things were gone. Her perfume, her scarves, her laughter, all erased like a memory rewritten. On the kitchen table, she'd left a small envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter. "Ryan, I wish I could undo what I've done. I don't have excuses, only mistakes. You didn't deserve the lies or the silence. The truth is, I never stopped loving you. I just stopped believing I was worthy of you. The missed call wasn't an accident. I called you because I was scared. Scared you'd stop caring. Scared you'd find out who I'd become. Maybe, in a way, I wanted you to. Maybe that was my way of confessing. I'm leaving the city for a while. I hope someday you find peace, even if it's not with me. Clara." I folded the letter, placed it back inside the envelope, and sat for a long time, listening to the silence. No tears came. There was nothing left to cry for. In the evenings, I began walking through the same streets we used to wander together, past the cafe where she'd make me laugh over burnt coffee, past the park where we'd sat under the stars pretending forever was real. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt familiar. Time, they say, heals, but it doesn't. It just teaches you how to live with the wound. 3 months later, I'd almost stopped thinking about her, or so I told myself. Then, one night, as I was about to fall asleep, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. One missed call. No message. No number saved. Just unknown caller. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. My pulse quickened. I stared at the screen, the glowing digits reflected in my tired eyes. It rang once and stopped, just like before. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the call log. The rational part of me said it was a coincidence. Spam, wrong number, anything ordinary. But a quiet voice deep inside whispered her name. "Clara." I never called back. Instead, I turned off the light, set the phone face down, and let the darkness take me. Some truths don't need reopening. Some ghosts are better left unanswered. As I drifted toward sleep, I thought about that night again. The rain, the silence, the single vibration that split my world in two. One missed call. 2 seconds. Enough to expose everything she tried to hide. And enough to change everything I thought I knew about love.